63 BC. Jerusalem, a city of prophets, kings, and centuries of rebellion. It was thought invincible, walls too high, faith too deep. Yet a Roman army arrived and the world would never look the same. Here we tell the stories history almost forgot. Not the legends, not the myths, but the systems, the decisions, the turning points. The moments when individuals, empires, and societies collided and the results were inevitable. This is not just about an army marching on a city. It's about how a centuries-old state, a culture, a faith, could be subdued without annihilation. How did Jerusalem fall? Not because of betrayal or heroism, but because of politics, strategy, and timing. And why did this conquest mark the end of the Jewish state as it had existed? To understand 63 BC, we must look beyond Jerusalem. The Jewish state was fragile long before Rome arrived. Internal divisions ran deep. The Hasmonean dynasty, born from revolt and religious zeal, had fractured. Kings were at odds with priests. Brothers turned on brothers. Loyalty shifted with every coin and crown. Meanwhile, Rome had already become a global machine. Its legions were not merely soldiers, they were instruments of administration, engineering, and diplomacy. They could starve a city as easily as storm it. They could persuade allies as effectively as they could intimidate enemies. And the Mediterranean itself was a network of power. Cities, ports, armies, and trade flowed under Roman oversight. Jerusalem, isolated in the hills, was a jewel, but a jewel under immense pressure from all sides. The region had been destabilized by decades of wars and alliances. Neighboring kingdoms played a careful game, always aware that Rome was patient but relentless. Rome did not conquer on impulse. They exploited divisions, they waited, they calculated, and they had one man in Syria who understood that calculation better than anyone, Pompey the Great. Pompey arrived at the gates of Jerusalem not as a conqueror in haste, but as a strategist with a plan. The city's walls were formidable, its people resolute, but inside, the ruling factions were at war. Aristobulus and Hyrcanus, both claimants to the throne, had divided the city and its defenders. Rome did not need to storm every tower, it only needed to exploit the fracture. For weeks, Pompey encircled the city. He studied the terrain. He identified weak points in the walls and in loyalty. Then came the moment that history remembers, not because of a heroic breach, but because of a disciplined decision. Pompey ordered the Romans to storm the city's defenses at the north wall, a section weakened not by siege engines but by infighting. The attack was swift and brutal, but it was measured. Pompey restrained his men from sacking the city immediately. He understood that destruction could serve Rome less than control. Within days, Jerusalem's leaders surrendered. Aristobulus was captured, Hyrcanus installed as high priest under Roman oversight. The conquest could have gone differently. Jerusalem was still defended by thousands, highly motivated, and fiercely loyal to their city. A moment of panic among the Romans could have reversed the outcome. Inside the city, civilians and soldiers alike faced impossible choices. Do you fight an inevitable force or negotiate? Rome's discipline proved decisive. Troop formations held. Orders were followed precisely. Siege towers advanced with careful engineering. It was not valor or faith that decided the day, it was restraint, patience, and the calculated exploitation of internal weakness. The result was the end of the Jewish state as an independent power. Rome did not destroy the city entirely. The temple remained standing, the priesthood remained, but power shifted. Judea became a client state, ruled indirectly through Roman allies. Its sovereignty was gone. Political power was centralized in Rome's hands. What seemed like victory for Rome was also a lesson in governance. Conquest was only the first step. Control required integration, oversight, and the careful balancing of local factions. The conquest of Jerusalem in 63 BC changed the trajectory of Jewish history forever. It set a precedent. The Jewish state could no longer rely solely on faith or fortifications. Diplomacy, political alliances, and internal unity became essential or survival was impossible. Rome's model of indirect rule would be repeated across the region. Territories fell not just by force but by manipulation of internal divisions, and the echoes would last for centuries. The eventual revolts, the destruction of the Second Temple, the diaspora all trace back to this moment when a republic first imposed its authority over the city of David. Jerusalem fell not to overwhelming force alone, but to strategy, patience, and the careful orchestration of human ambition. It was the end of one chapter and the beginning of another where power, not prophecy, would define the city's fate. If you want to explore the moments that shaped entire civilizations, subscribe for stories that go beyond the myths, and tell us what historical turning points should we uncover next.